years and years and years. I think it's only recently that I don't listen to him every single day. But every morning I would turn on this cassette, Tape of the Month. And, there was one particular cassette that I just loved because he said, every time that you get disturbed or your ego gets inflated, all you have to say is, ego. And so, these are little tricks that you work with yourself when you see your ego getting really inflated, and I hear that voice saying, ego, and go, ego, leave me alone, don't bother me, I don't need you, you're uncomfortable. But he also taught us something very interesting, because when you come into spirituality, they always say have no ego. You shouldn't have an ego. But really, he redefined that. And what he taught me was, no, you have to have an ego to be an individual. You have to have your own personality. You have to have some kind of presence. That's why you're individual. And that's why you have your personality. And that's why you've been brought under certain astrological influences. Because that ego had to come to learn something. The job one has to do is not eliminate the ego, because then you'll be spineless. And we don't need people in this world that are spineless. We need people with energy and courage. So he says you redefine and transform your ego and make it pure. And really this is one of the greatest lessons I learned from him, because when he came to Gibraltar for the very first time, when I actually took him on as a guru, after living with him for 1 week, I thought, I can't go back to my life. I can't go back to where I was. So as he was leaving for the airport, I said to him, Gurudev, what do I do with my life now? I mean, where do I go from here? You're leaving, and I can't be the same anymore. It won't have any meaning. What do I do? And he looked at me, and he said, meditate. Purify your mind. Love everything that you are doing now. When you are ready, God will use you. Best advice I got. It was simple. I was working in a retail shop at that time, which I was always complaining about. First thing I had to learn to do is stop complaining. Start loving everything in my life, purifying my thoughts. And of course, you sit down and you get such instructions, purify your thoughts, and you sit down for the first time in meditation, because it was my first time, I got a shock at the kind of thoughts that existed in my mind. I got a shock. I always considered myself such a positive person, but when I watched myself think, I don't like this person did this to me. Oh my God, no wonder my life is a wreck. My mind is a wreck. And it became very simple at that point, because I quickly understood that the mind was just a mirror, or a mind is just the place where thoughts come through. But because we got so used to, in our world, using our mind, if we have a thought, that's what we play with the thought too much. So the lesson I had to learn was to watch those thoughts. And when they were thoughts of selfish thoughts, desirous thoughts, I noticed I became unhappy. Whenever it was, I really want this, or I really don't want this, either way, I lost my balance. And a few years later, this was, because it takes a few years to work with yourself. It doesn't happen overnight. And I really, really, really I was so I want peace. Above all, I don't really like to be angry with people. It's not comfortable. Is it comfortable? When you're in pain, when somebody hurts you, the anger is so horrible. You don't want the anger. I didn't want it. So there was this great desire to be free of anger. So then, like I said last night, to be free of anger, you have to introduce the opposite. What is the opposite of anger to you? Anybody?
Love.
Love. So you start, and forgiveness was so important to me. And I learned very quickly, the only reason I could not forgive or I could not love is because I had a very powerful ego. Saying, I'm right, why should I forgive? I didn't do anything wrong, why should I be the one to say sorry? I was clinging to the I was the right one, I was the victim, I was clinging to my victim role. And I thought that was something to be proud of. But really, in actuality, I learned by watching my own mind, which was my best teacher, was this victim role made me unhappy, so why did I cling to it? Why was I clinging to this image that had made me miserable for 33 years? So the next job was, I am not my mind. Gurudev used to say that to us in meditation, right? I am not this body. I'm not this mind. Immortal self, I am. Okay, next step. Nalanie can't forgive because Nalanie's got a huge ego. Had a huge ego at that time. I wasn't ready. So how could I forgive if I wasn't ready? But you know, when you are sincere, and I promise you this, there is the saying, when the student is ready, the master appears, right? So at that time, when I was going through this struggle with my ego, finding it so hard to forgive, even with the meditation, even with the practices. Of course, I get a call from Swami Satchidananda. We're going to be in Portugal to do a retreat there. Nalanie, you want to come? And so I went to this retreat in Portugal. And there, I was going through a lot of personal turmoil. So in learning to forgive. And so I sit with Gurudev after the retreat. During the retreat, he calls me to his room, so I go and sit with him. And you know, at that time, oh Gurudev, and this person, you know, I'm trying to purify myself, but this person did this to me, and trying to get him to take my side, you know. I was treated so badly over the years, and all I did was love and serve, and all I got back was nastiness. He looked at me, cut me short. After 2 minutes of me, he cut me short. And he said, Nalanie, do you want peace? And I said, of course I want peace. And you have to forgive this person. But I can't, Again, Nalanie, do you want peace? But, do you want peace? Yes, I said, desperately. Then he goes, you have to forgive. Why should I, Gurudev? Why should I say sorry when I didn't do anything wrong? You are the yogi. You are the one that's chosen this path. So you have to do it. You want peace? You have to do it. So I said to him, Gurudev, but that would make me such a hypocrite if I didn't feel the forgiveness. He says, no, don't worry about that. All you have to do is every day, every single day, when you begin your meditation, you see this person and you bless them. And you say, you forgive them. And I said, I wouldn't be sincere. Don't worry. In the beginning, he told me, it will not be sincere. But over a period of time, it will become a habit. Once it becomes a habit, you will find it easy. All right? So I was very, again, blessed by the gods not to see this person for 6 months. You see how the universe works with us when we work with ourselves. It just helps us. And I've noticed this. This is why I have absolute faith. I have no doubt. But we have to do the work. Nobody can do it for us. And God is with us, each and every one of us. So don't even think anybody can do it for you. You have to do it. So anyway, 6 months later, I did this every day. And really the first 2 weeks was horrendous because I didn't feel it. But then after 2 weeks, it became a habit. And 6 months, I was doing it every day. And you know, funny enough, this habit still is there today. I have to pray for this person. And there's no need because we've made peace and everything's happened and I love her to bits and she loves me. But it's become a habit. It really has become a habit. So 6 months later, I think, oh my God, am I ever going to forgive this person? I'm going to come face to face with this person. And, I work so hard, I'm sure I still feel angry. So anyway, this person came to my presence. I got a shock. I felt no anger. What I felt instead was complete compassion. I saw this person in a totally different light, as one who was suffering, full of jealousy. And I realized, I can't change this person. Poor thing, I'd hate to live in her mind. I'd hate to live in her mind with so much jealousy. And that set me free, because the compassion took over. And after that day, there was no word in my vocabulary. I never could hate anyone. And forgiveness became quite easy. Because throughout my yogic life, of course, when I first started, I had a lot of hate mail. Because yoga was strange 20 years ago. And I was considered a witch. And so it was really, I got hate mail. I just tore it up. I didn't even read them. Tore them, put them in a basket. I was called a witch. But you know what? I had learned with this practice that Gurudev had given me to forgive just like that. And the other thing I had learned was whoever caused the pain to you was really your best guru. Because you have to work on yourself when you're in so much pain. You have to look for another meaning to life when you're in so much pain. And you must know you lost your wife, and it brings so much pain that you have to shift consciousness. If you don't shift consciousness, you live in darkness. And we're not born to live in darkness. We are light. Are you light?
Yes.
Can you say that really loud?
Yes. Yes.
So the job is then to take your ego, take your thoughts, and understand why you are not willing to forgive. Understand why you are not willing to let somebody else be in charge. People fight for positions in the corporate world. I see many people from businesses who come to see me. And there is so much jealousy in the corporate world, and they're really good at their jobs, and they're stressed out, and they have to go into these offices, and 8 hours a day they're living with people who are so tense, and they come to me and say, how can I do this with yoga? And I said, don't you know you've been placed there to introduce yoga? It's your ego that doesn't want to be gentle. So I'll give you an example. And the example will be of my very, very own daughter. She was working as a bank manager with Barclays Bank at a very young age, 24, and she was getting a great salary. And of course, the people in the bank, been there for 15, 20 years, they were really upset that this young girl comes in and is above them. So she calls me on the phone from London, I remember, and saying, Mom, I don't know whether I want this job. Everybody around me can't stand me. Everybody's angry with me, and I'm just getting so frustrated with this. And I said, Shani, do me a favor. You can understand why they're angry with you. They've been in the job for 15 years. Here you come with this university degree, and suddenly you're put in charge, on top of them. Why don't you go tomorrow? Talk to them, tell them you can feel the animosity, and really, you got this job. You didn't know it would upset them. You didn't mean to step on their toes, and you would love to learn from them, because they have 15, 10 years experience and you have none. And could you work as a team? I said, bring some chocolates with you. And I said, go to the staff room and offer to make them all tea and coffee. Just to become part of that. Serve. She did it. And she was there in Oxford at the bank there for a year. And the person who was the most unpleasant to her wrote her a beautiful letter and said that if she ever opened a business anywhere in the world, she'd travel the world over to work with her.
Wow.
So you see how you can turn things around just by
Yes.
not allowing your ego to take the better of you.
Yeah.
It's that humility, the ability to say, okay, everybody's at loggerheads now at this meeting. I belong to many, many committees. Thank God, I'm over the years less and less, I hope. Less and less. And you can see sometimes people forget the cause is for the highest good. And everybody wants to introduce their ideas because it's my idea. And it's fine. If it works for the highest good, wonderful. But if it works because you want to prove that your idea is better than everybody else's, then it doesn't work. And I see this a lot in committees. In fact, once I was at I belonged to the cancer research in Gibraltar, and there was this group of people when they first started, and all the committee meeting, the 2 hours that we wasted, for me was wasting, everybody was giving their ideas and nobody was listening to anyone. So I stood up and I said, look, do you mind if we just listen to everybody and take votes on it? Then they started arguing again. And they both, then it became two parties, and this side had to be right, and this side had to be right. After 6 months with this kind of energy, I said, I resigned. Because I realized I couldn't change anyone. I kept on bringing up, let's compromise, let's work together. But I was shut up every time. So I decided, it's not my world. So I'll walk away. So I had to walk away. And I realized that all that time that they wasted with their egos, so much could have been done. So much could have been done. We could have already organized many fundraising activities because that was our job. But instead of having one a month, they had one a year because there was so much discussion every time we had an idea. Nobody wanted to act. Everybody wanted to be in charge. We had no workers. We had all egos. And things don't work. And when you see things get stuck anywhere in your life, notice. Either it's yourself that's stopping it, it's your own ego, or it's somebody else stopping it. And then you make decisions what to do. If it's yourself, then you have to ask yourself, why am I being so stubborn about this? Is it really my belief system? And is my belief system more important than everybody else's? And if everybody else is against me, what is their intention and what is my intention? Know your intention. If your intention is to serve the highest good, fight the battle like Arjuna did. Like Krishna told Arjuna to do. But if it is to please just what you think is right, then please let go and say, I'm willing to let go of this. It's the only way to work on your ego. Otherwise, throughout your life, you waste a lot of golden opportunities. Many beautiful things can happen in those hours that you waste. Don't waste them. Know what you want. And it is like in the Bible, it says, seek God first and its righteousness, and everything else will be added on to you. And people seek everything else first. And I keep going, you're going that way, you're going the wrong direction, come back home. And Gurudev tells this lovely story that really illustrates this point so beautifully. And it's a story about this king. And one day he calls his ministers and he says to all his ministers, today I'm going to have open day. Invite everybody to come here to the palace, and they can take whatever they want in the palace, anything they want for one day. So of course the next day everybody was running to the palace. Some took chairs, tables, all different things, clothes, money, and people just started grabbing. At the end of the day, when the time was up, there was one lady just sitting there. And he goes, you haven't taken anything. The king goes to her. And she goes, no. He says, why? Everybody, you've just been sitting here all day. She goes, are you in this circle? And he goes, of course I'm in this circle. I choose you. And by choosing the king, she had everything. And it's the same, the whole Bhagavad Gita is like that as well. Have you read the Bhagavad Gita, the living Gita? It's like that. And that's what, Lord Krishna is telling Arjuna, if you choose the highest good, no matter how difficult your battle is, no matter how dangerous, no matter any of that, but you are fighting for the highest good, know that I am with you and know that you will win. Know it. There is no doubt. Do not even doubt. And he goes and says that no matter whatever goodness you do in the world cannot be lost. And in chapter 6 of the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna asks Lord Krishna, says, Lord Krishna, what do I do if I go on this yoga path, right? And then before my life is over, I'm working so hard to overcome all these challenges, going into this battle with love and all this. I'm trying to overcome all this. What at the end of it, I die. I'm neither achieved yoga and neither have I enjoyed my life because I'm working so hard.
That's a good question.
Yeah, it's a good question. I just exaggerated it to modern day. And because it was my question, what happens at the end of the road and I die and I haven't got either? And Lord Krishna answers, do not worry, my son. Whatever good you do will not be lost. You will come back again and you will get a body to continue the journey that you have started. You will get the body to continue. So look at all of us here, right? What have you, just by knowing this, it shows that all of us in our previous lives must have done a lot of soul searching and a lot of good. And of course, when we come back to this earth, we get a little distracted, which is the danger, this earth office. This is the challenge. And we have been a little distracted. And then pain and suffering comes into our life to remind us, didn't you remember you asked me to remind you to achieve yoga while you were living? And that's why suffering comes to us as a reminder. Hey, don't forget your soul. I'm here. I'm immortal. The body is not. Don't get so wrapped up in your ego. Don't get so wrapped up in yourself. You yourself are just a gift to you. You're only here for a little while. Very little while. Don't forget that. So don't get so wrapped up. How could this person do this to me? How could I get hurt? How dare you speak to me like that? Why not? I spoke to Lord Jesus like that. I've seen people speak to Gurudev very rudely. Haven't you, Swami Dayanandaji? Yeah? And you go, so if they speak to us like that, no big deal. No big deal. They're the greatest saints. Just walk away. That's what we need to learn. And that's the purifying of the ego, to make our minds pure so that we can receive the highest knowledge. Because if we choose that, whatever we need to learn will be given to us. Whatever you want, God is abundant. Life is abundant. Energy is abundant. Knowledge is abundant. The only thing that blocks the flow of that divine energy, and again it's scientific, the only thing that blocks this is ourselves and nothing else. So please, in your life, if you are not happy, if you are miserable, the first thing you must do is drop the blame. Even though somebody else has caused the misery, stop blaming and stop complaining. Start accepting. There was this Jewish prayer, another one I read yesterday, I think from this little cute little book, and what does it say? It says, my prayer is, thank you for everything I have. And everything that I'm about to receive, I say, yes. I say yes. And that's the truth. When pain comes, it's okay. It really is okay. It's coming to teach me. It's okay. And yes, I accept you. I embrace you because you're my teacher. When joy comes, yes, I embrace you because the universe wants to make me happy. Why do people, when they're happy today, feel so guilty about it? Do you know that? Have you noticed? Gurudev kept on repeating, it is our birthright, didn't he, Swami Dayanandaji? On and on. It is your birthright to be happy. You know, oh, in order to be spiritual, we have to appear serious, we have to don't do this and don't do that. Where's the joy? Yeah? Isn't it true? He was so happy. Yes, sometimes he took on the appearance of being quite severe to teach us, only to teach us, to purify ourselves. I remember one of the last times I saw him, because many times throughout my journey, our journey, you know, I would slip and I'd call my guru and then he'd slam the phone down at me and I'd cry for hours or give me one harsh word and go, Nalanie, just do it! Just do it! And close the phone. And so I remember, and I was fearful of that, so fearful that I even towards the end got a little scared to call him. I go, this is ridiculous. My fear is based on me feeling that I cannot conquer my ego. I can. So I'm gonna, when he comes the next time, I'm going to tell him to tell me off as much as he can. And the moment I make a mistake, to correct me right away. So he comes in, he's in my apartment because he was staying with me. And I go, Gurudev, you know, I've resisted every time you've told me off. I realize my ego is very strong because I cry, I feel sorry for myself. But I realize how much I've grown every time you've told me off. I've become strong. So I said, please, while you're here, tell me off all the time. Years of karma will be washed away. Years of bad karma will be just like this by a guru's touch. I said, please tell me off. I'm so grateful. And he just laughed. He goes, why should I, darling? You do nothing wrong. Yeah, like surrender. And he never, after that, told me off. At all. It was always, darling, how are you? Nalanie, are you well? Gurudev, is there anything I need to do more? No, you are doing everything. It was, you see, that letting go of the ego, the willingness to accept that the only thing I could change in my life was me. You know, in the serenity prayer, right? You all know it. Will you say it with me? Lord, grant me the strength to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And you know, this prayer is so precious, isn't it? Serenity to accept the things I cannot change. We cannot change the times when we feel in pain, like you were talking about. So accept it. Just accept it. I have to go through this. It will take a little time, but everything passes. Doesn't everything really pass? It does. Everything, good and bad, passes, you know. We pass. I don't know why we cling so much to this. It makes me laugh sometimes, you know. We're just so mortal in the body and so immortal. So, and then the courage to change things again. I realize the only thing I can change in my entire life is me. And what is stopping me? Pride, thinking I'm better than everybody else. All this nonsense. And nothing Gurudev told us, you know, I think I may have told this last year, but I don't remember. I talked so many places all over the world. And he said, you know, this is all of us, we're all the same. He said, it's like this sculptor that gets a piece of wood, and from that wood he carves a box for chess. You know the chess box? And then there is the box. And then he makes this box and opens the box. And then there's nothing but the box. And then he paints the black and white squares. And now we got duality. We got black and we got white. still from the same piece of wood, all from one piece of wood. And then, there's nothing happening, black and white, black and white, black and white. So let's make some fun. So the carpenter, starts to make now the pawn, black and white pawns, and now we have a little game. But after a while it gets a little boring again. So from the same piece of wood, it makes the bishop, and then the knight, and the king, and the queen. And now you have a full-fledged chess game that can give you hours of fun, hours of using your brain, exercising it. And then when you finish the game, you put the pieces back into the box, close the box, and you're all one again. So it's just different, different costumes, like I said, different designer costumes, but really the same fabric. And that's what we have to keep reminding ourselves, and that will help us with the ego. And sometimes, of course, when you meet up with very strong personalities, and some people are very strong, and there are some people who are really wanting bad on you. They do exist, there is evil that exists on this world. And you're confronted with that. Just think of that box. This is the game. This is the challenge. I'm in this game because I'm in the world. So how am I going to deal with this challenge? Sometimes Sri Patanjali tells us disregard the wicked, which means walk away. Sometimes the Bhagavad Gita tells us we have to battle. We have to know which is our swadharma. When do we walk away? And when do we battle? If it's really necessary for the highest good, then maybe we have to battle. But none of us want to, and this is what makes it so hard. Because you're coming from a place that is humble. I don't really want to battle. But if I have to save my people, then I have a job to do. And the other way is there's no need for a battle. Battling with this person is not going to make any difference at all. They're never going to change. They're never going to understand my point of view. No need for debate. I'm wasting my energy. Then you walk away. There's no highest good. It's a personal thing. Let's don't get personal. Just walk away. And that person will try to bring you back into battle all the time. And your weakness is to go back into battle. You need to learn to be strong, to walk away and refuse. And that takes a lot of humility. It really takes a lot of humility to walk away. Because the human nature has this energy to prove that it's always right, that I have to be right and everybody else has to be wrong. It's just the way human nature is. And this is our journey, the soul's journey. It chose to journey this way. Because we have to go through all the debris in our mind in order to get to the light. And this is the fun. These are the obstacles. So whenever you get something like that happening in your life, something that takes you off path, something that hurts, then you think of it as just another hurdle to jump over. As Gurudev said, just another wave to surf. Think of it that way. Don't think of it my ego. Oh, it's hurting me. I, me, mine. Look for those 3 words in your vocabulary of the mind, okay? If your mind is constantly I, me, mine, know that the work is definitely with you. Just know it. Don't even debate it. Because the mind will try to debate it and blame somebody else all the time. It will do that. Don't say, I'm not ready to debate. All I know is I, me, mine takes me away from my peace. And if you have peace, guess what? Everything you want will come to you. Get it? Make peace your God. Because time up. Good, that went quick. Oh yes, time up. We have to go to the lotus. We do not want to be late for that one. Yeah. So that's on the ego. I'd like to thank you all for listening to me and for coming this morning. And this afternoon, please bring a notepad with you because we're going to be talking on truthfulness, and we will do some exercises in that, if that's okay with all of you. And then if you have any questions, let me know before, so I keep 15 minutes for questions and answers. Is that fair? And some of you who may feel, although I don't see that, I think you're also brave and so courageous to be so open and honest, feel that you have a question that you don't want to voice out, I am very happy to take it on a piece of paper as well. Okay? But it's better if you voice it out because it's really important to be open and brave. You break the molds. Because there's nothing to be ashamed of. Nothing. As Swami Vivekananda said, there's no mistakes, We learn from them. Thank you. Enjoy the lotus.